This Morning.
Where the money meets church members, Vicksburg's First Baptist Church shows how an investment can yield worthy dividends. It is Sunday morning. We're putting faith in focus. Revelations chapter 3, verse 17, you say, I am rich, I have acquired wealth, and do not need a thing, but you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. That is quite the entry, and this discussion of money and how it relates to faith continues during service at Vicksburg First Baptist Church, and it's part of a seasonal series putting faith in focus. On a good Sunday, more than 350 people pack the pews at First Baptist. And being a large church, it has donations to match with.
A budget of $1.2 million. We'll receive another $800,000 in special gifts, much of that toward missions.
Matt Buckles has been senior pastor for 9.5 years, or as he puts it, 10 football seasons. He's also this year's president of the Mississippi Baptist Convention after the time leading his church, investing themselves, as they say, in
prayers, pennies, and people in mission endeavors and trips locally, across our state, our nation, and the world. We need to work our wealth in the sense of giving, sharing. We live in a world that wastes its wealth.
And that financial responsibility extends into social responsibility. It's the topic of this Sunday's service, talking about how money can be used to further the goals of the church.
Now, what we would discover, probably, if we did leave.
The Reverend Stan Buckley delivers the sermon, the topic being Work Our Wealth. The community here has already invested in recovery programs, programs to end hunger, plus a monthly medical and dental clinic serving 100 patients on average for free. But also important is the commitment coming from churchgoers, many offering volunteering as a form of service.
We have borrowed a phrase from someone, if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. And we believe that each person has a purpose, and you find that purpose as a follower of Christ and commit yourself to kingdom work. And this grace also guarantees a home in heaven one day.
First Baptist Vicksburg is also in the business of church planting, already working with groups out of Vancouver, Canada and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Currently, they're assisting a church in Indianapolis. And if you'd like the viewers of News Channel 12 to learn more about your faith community, you can find my contact information in the faith section of WJTV.com. We'll be right back. A special program guides dozens of teens at Cathedral AME Zion Church, and they're directing discussion towards those tough to talk about issues, putting faith in focus. Children growing up with the church might see the same people every single weekend. So when they hit those tough teenage years, it might be helpful during age-specific programs to bring in an outside voice to make an impact. At Cathedral African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church in Jackson, a teen summit does just that. It's Sunday morning. We're putting faith in focus. Nearly 100 teenagers complete a weekend of unfiltered discussion at Cathedral AME Zion Church, a teen summit bringing together a half-dozen guest speakers who, organizer Katina Bell says, focused on the embarrassing or unspoken issues.
Things like sex, things with drugs and just abuse and suicide, depression, teen pregnancies. They have so many issues that they're facing, and a lot of time because we have younger children around them, they're not as open to let us know that those are the things they want to discuss.
I done been to a lot of churches, and here at this church I feel more welcome than any other church. Like, yeah, I grew up here and everything, but like, they bring you in. They don't just undermine you and try to talk to you like you lower than them.
I don't know what you came to do.
Dr. Cedric Gray, superintendent of Jackson Public Schools, delivers that finale sermon for the entire cathedral. He says events like this Teen Summit plays a spiritual role for students that affects life in and out of the classroom.
You want to be faithful unto Him.
And even when I was a teenager, it was very difficult. There were very difficult times, and sometimes we didn't feel
like people understood where we were coming from. There's no doubt about it that if it wasn't for my prayers of my mother and my grandmother as an adolescent, it would have been a lot more difficult. But we couple that with some strategies, with some of the decisions they have to make. They're pretty tough these days.
We can't just have Sunday morning service and just think that that does the job. We have to continually provide opportunities for them to live a successful life.
And Shatiria Jackson says sometimes it's that open, safe environment that people like her need.
And like when you have certain people like Miss Katina, you feel like you actually got somebody, like knowing that you can get some encouragement and knowing that it's not gonna be like a burden on you because you ain't got nobody else.
Mayor Chokwe Lumumba was also a guest speaker during that weekend. Organizers are hoping to make it an annual event, but are also continuing on with that weekly lesson that the Teen Summit grew from. And if you'd like the viewers of News Channel 12 to learn more about your church community, you can find my contact information in the faith section of WJTV.com.
This is WJTV News Channel 12 this morning.
Demographic changes and what it means for a small devoted group of followers at Van Winkle Methodist Church right here in Jackson. It's Sunday morning. We're putting faith in focus. The congregation's been around since just after World War II. In the 50s, Van Winkle Methodist actually absorbed other Methodist churches in the area, growing rapidly, but since then, their attendance has shrunk. What does that mean for followers? Well, in this morning's Faith in Focus, an open discussion about the role of the church when the area changes. At 91 years old, Alma Lowe is older than the building at Van Winkle Methodist Church. Her fingers still provide the music, playing piano
since I was born. I hadn't practiced today, certainly not for this. I can play most everything that's simple.
Less simple, however, is predicting what will happen at this church 20 or even 10 years down the line.
As the city of Jackson changed and the Metro Center Mall kind of got replaced by North Park and then by other shopping areas, the neighborhoods, many of which had been bought out for commercial purposes, really became empty storefronts.
That we all may be found.
Pastor Steve McDonald says the work is now a part-time job. He describes church members as faithful, responsible, and supportive, and the building's in excellent condition. But he says it's unlikely the church will experience rapid growth to what it once was. But now what the church might be best known for is their thrift shop. In fact, Pastor says that's what brings the most people in every week.
It generates enough money to pay for itself and to contribute to the utilities and the insurance for the church. It is definitely a not-for-profit organization. As the community has declined, probably the need for this ministry has grown. The purpose of the church is not its own survival. The purpose of the church is the witness that it gives. We can bear witness to the faithfulness of God, even in a situation that is not booming and growing, because God's faithful to people in good times and in bad.
And for Miss Lowe, sitting at the piano bench just 3 months after a heart attack, that devotion and what the church means to her shows.
It means a lot to me because I've been doing it all my life.
The church is exploring the possibility of renting their space and sharing it with other churches who may be looking for a home. Those groups would not necessarily even be Methodist. And if you'd like the viewers of News Channel 12 to learn more about your church community, you can find my contact information in the faith section of WJTV.com.